Hi everybody, and welcome to Poland Daily Travel, where in the next series of episodes we'll be traveling along the royal route. That's right, the Tract Królewski in beautiful Warsaw. We'll be starting in the historic Old Town at the Cathedral of St. John. Then I'll be walking and talking with my friend Artur Gorniewski as we proceed south along Krakowskie Przedmieście to the center of the city. You'll get to know the landmarks and historical places of interest that are most essential along the royal route. So stay with us. You won't find anything this comprehensive anywhere else. Poland Daily Travel walks and talks along the royal route. Hi. We're here with Poland Daily Travel in front of the cathedral in Warsaw. This is one of the most important churches in Poland, along with Częstochowa Church and the church in Krakow, St. Mary's. We're going to go inside and meet a friend of mine called Arthur. And Arthur is going to explain to us exactly what the history is here. So let's go in and meet him. Okay? Let's go. Hi, it's Poland Daily Travel, and we're back in the cathedral in the Old Town in Warsaw. I'm here with Arthur, and we're going to talk about the Constitutional Memorial, this rather grand classical sculpture behind us. What's it all about, Arthur? Why is it here?
Constitution of Poland, first European constitution, the second constitution in the world after US, is presented in here in ancient Roman style when we take a closer look at the sculpture. It presents on the top Mr. Małachowski, so the leader of a 4 years meeting during which we decided about the form and the idea of our constitution. So going back to the topic that we were talking over before, when there are candidates, there are promises. So the kings were elected in a democratic way. So the more kings were elected, the more powers were given to Polish aristocracy. And that's why at some point there was no king who had power in his hands, but the aristocracy and magnate families. They had to cut it, they had to change it. And finally they did it in 1791, 3rd of May. This is when we adopted our constitution.
3rd of May Constitution, 1791?
Correct.
91, okay.
That's the famous moment in Polish history that we do celebrate till nowadays by 3rd of May, which is a day when we don't work simply. So it's our national celebration on that day. The sculpture in here appears in 1831. So after 40 more years, we have many more important history situations happening in here, and that's why the sculpture is also equipped with them. In the meantime, Poland lost the independence to Russia, Prussia and Austria, 3 neighborhood countries, annexed Poland because of the fact that it was becoming too modern, and that was a convenient moment to make 3 countries make a deal, and we lost the independence. And that's why when we take a closer...
They annexed Poland and split it, cut it up between themselves.
Annexed, exactly. 64% annexed by Russia, and then the rest by Prussia and Austrian Empire. We lost the independence for 123 years. 5 generations. Let's think about it, 5 generations. So if you are born right before World War I, so right before the moment when we got back our independence, then these were not your parents, not grandparents, but great or great-great-grandparents of yours who were living in an independent country of yours. So what do we know exactly about our great-great-grandparents? How is it possible that Polish culture survived, that Polish identity survived, thanks to mothers and fathers of Polish independence? Some of them we've talked about, some of them we will. And also important commemorations like we are having in here. This one appeared in this cathedral particularly in 1831, so after the November uprising, after the moment when Frederick Chopin had to leave the country, after the moment when more in more retaliations were appearing in here, especially by the Russian Empire. And that was a moment, hey, we remember. Henryk Marconi designs this sculpture. Henryk Marconi soon will design Europejski Hotel in 1855 that we will visit today.
We're going to see later.
And this sculpture was made in Rome. It was transported in here. It was supposed to be located in the Holy Cross Church, where Frederick Chopin-Hart is buried nowadays. But eventually, because of its size, huge, it was put right in here in this cathedral. Even though the place was destroyed during World War II, we are having original elements in here, and even though the church was destroyed and reconstructed once again, we are having these spacious areas in here, so to keep such important memorials.
I wanted to ask Arthur about some of these details right here that we're looking at. Arthur, what is this symbolizing? Why is it important?
We are having a flag of Poland that consists of an eagle that represents Poland originally as the symbol of our first tribes that developed our country 1,000 years ago. We are having a symbol of Lithuania, a rider, creating together the Commonwealth. In the central section of the flag, every single time there was a symbol of the king currently elected. So that's a symbol of his family. And when we see a bull in here, we know that we refer to Poniatowski family. Poniatowski was the last king of Poland. So this is how the last flag of the Commonwealth was looking like. But we are having a very sad metaphor in here. We are having our flag covered by a curtain, like in a theater when a curtain ends the show. So even though we are looking at the glorious moment of Polish history, the moment when we adopted our constitution in 1791, we learned something in here. We learned that we did it too late. We adopted our constitution, we cancelled the law of liberum veto. Polish aristocracy, if there was one man who stood up during the parliament session and said liberum veto, I disagree, then they couldn't adopt this particular law anymore in the future. We adopted this law so to not allow any kind of
well, not to allow anyone to get too much power. Anyone to get too much power. You didn't want a king with too much power. The British had Magna Carta, and you had a different style in Poland, the liberum veto, which said, you know, as you said, you stand up and say, I disagree, and that stops the law or the motion going through, right?
We did it in case of corruption, but it turned out that you needed one man to be corrupted, so Poland couldn't develop. We had to cut it. We had to adopt our constitution.
Somebody could just pay the person to veto everything.
Exactly.
So it doesn't really work.
Exactly.
You have to, has to be more democratic. That's almost a form of a kind of anarchy, isn't it? I mean, I respect that in a way. I respect it in a way. It's an interesting way of looking at liberty, but it doesn't lead to the best cooperation.
In the name of the good, we couldn't develop, and many bad things were done, so we had to change it. In a very modern way, we adopted our constitution, but it was after the first partition. So the first moment when Polish borders are annexed, 1772. We go on, we understand that we are having a difficult situation, we adopt the constitution 1791, and then a year later, second partition. Austria didn't participate, only Prussia and Russia took a little bit more, and then 1795, after another 3 years, third partition. So in Europe, in a continent where kings and rulers wanted to develop, wanted to grow, wanted to have more and more power, Poland was compared to a big cake that local leaders were taking advantage from, and we are losing the independence. That's why it is very important monument sculptured in here. Very sad metaphor, but it was constructed already in a moment when Poland was not on the maps. So this is something that we already knew, and that's amazing in our history that we were sculpturing such things even in a moment when Poland was not on the maps.
Wow. Stay with us, Poland Daily Travel. We're on the royal route